Let's dive into dynamic reteaming. Look, between November 23 and August 24, we bootstrapped and then dissolved 3 teams. And if you fast forward 1 year, take exactly the same amount of time, we bootstrapped and dissolved 97 teams. And in both cases, we got the same amount of people. The R&D department is around 200 folks. So you might think, oh, what happened there? Did they just descended into chaos? Was it the most hectic time in the history of the company? How did the employees felt about it? And we're going to dive into that soon. But before we do that, I wanted to share our story. I want us to just clearly understand where are we coming from. You need to know that our company was born to make hiring easy. Our founder basically figured out that it's extremely hard to find the perfect employee. And on the flip side, it's also extremely hard to land a great job as a candidate. We wanted to solve that problem, and we knew that we need the best possible tech, the best possible product, and try to incorporate the best possible ways of working. So here are some of the things that we incorporated, we adopted, that helped us in dynamic reteaming later on. First of all, we consumed everything that Silicon Valley product group produced. We read every book and every article, and we tried to implement their product operating model. So we implemented continuous discovery. We wanted to address the 4 big risks, so value, usability, feasibility, business viability. And we leveraged prototyping to rapidly test ideas and validate the backlog items. But most importantly, we recognized that you need product managers, product designers, and product engineers working together in the same team in order to build a truly lovable product. And please make a mental note about these dots, because I'm going to be reusing them across the slides. These dots will always represent product managers, designers, engineers. Okay? Then, technical foundations. We tried to implement continuous delivery. We want to improve software in small chunks. We invested a lot in automation, things like test-driven development, feature flags, deployment automation. And then finally, the inner source culture. So our code base is open to everyone. Everyone is encouraged to improve everyone else's code base. And people do that often. And that led us to ship around 3,000 times every month. So we just continuously deployed to production in small chunks. And finally, we had a great fortune to meet some amazing Kanban mentors, among them Paul Kleep, who you probably know, shared a lot of knowledge with us. And we try to manage flow on an epic level. And when I say epic, I mean the smallest product increment that you can give to someone. I'm going to be talking about epics a little bit. An epic for us is the smallest increment that it's baked enough that you wouldn't be ashamed to give to your customer. Okay? And we obsess about these epics. We measure epic cycle time and lead time and epic throughput. And we try to keep the epic whip limit low. Okay, so we talked about product, technology, ways of working. In order to reason about all of that, we use investment profiling, a concept we borrow from Dropbox. And this basically means every tiny piece of work at SmartRecruiters falls into one of these 4 categories. It's either KTLO, keep the lights on work, so all the work needed to sustain the product, to keep the product alive. So think of bug fixes, security patches, dependency updates, all that mundane work. Then productivity, the work we reinvest into ourselves, into making ourselves faster, more efficient, more productive. And then the 2 other buckets are customer-facing. Improving things, the work that goes into improving existing features, drive retention, work for existing customers to make them happier. And finally, new things, net new functionalities, net new add-ons, product, new value-adding functionalities in your product. You want to stay or spend most of your time in that new things bucket. You want to limit as much as possible that KTLO bucket. Okay, I wanted to pause here and do a quick pulse check. Please raise your hand if you're using at least one of these techniques. Okay? Please raise your hand. Okay, not that much people. Anyone doing 2 things? 2 of these? Okay, 1 person. Anyone doing 3? Okay, perfect. So we're going to learn a lot today, right? We're going to that was our baseline. Now, with these things in place, we wanted to dive into team fluidity. And when I mean team fluidity, I mean the degree of the team to tackle many different things, operate on a different tech stacks, work on a different product domains, serve different types of users, build different types of products. And we wanted to focus on team fluidity next because we felt our existing structure back then was pretty static. We had a fixed number of teams, and within these teams, a fixed number of people having fixed number of components, and these teams were operating in a fixed set of like a bigger groups. And whenever a big change happened around us, we felt it's unnecessarily hard to reshape that structure. We wanted to be like water, right? We wanted to be able to reshape to the events that are happening around us. And in 2024, the world changed so much that really forced us to accelerate that journey to team fluidity. Because in 2024, the pace of AI advancement was so fast that we knew that the way people will hire other people will fundamentally change. And we need to rethink everything. We look at our roadmap, look at our features, and we thought to ourselves, well, will anyone even care about that a year from now? And our CEO just told us, okay, let's trash it. And we basically canceled all the projects, and the entire roadmap ended up being canceled. We called our customers and we told them, hey, look, there will be no releases for the upcoming 3 months at least, because we need to rethink what to do. And then we sent 30% of the team to aggressive discovery. They were just working with the customers, trying to imagine the future. And the rest of the crew was replatforming. They were basically sharpening the axe, replatforming on the front end and the back end. And after that 3 months of discovery, we dreamed Winston. So Winston is that friendly green robot that you can see here, our mascot, but it's also an intelligence layer in the product, a set of AI functionalities that we wanted to develop. So Winston helps candidates to find jobs, apply for these jobs, answer screening questions, go through an automated first interview. And on the recruiter side, Winston helps shortlist candidates, schedule interviews with them, send them offers. And we built that prototype that we were testing with customers, and everyone was super excited about it. Everyone wanted a piece of Winston. The only bummer was like we needed to build it, and we needed to build it fast. And we set an ambitious goal to deliver Winston in 9 months. That was our plan. Okay, but how to do that? Well, we first thought maybe we can just reuse the existing structure. Maybe we can just reuse the existing teams and ship Winston. But then we thought, oh, if we're just going to do that, we're going to have to chop Winston into so many tiny pieces that we are risking creating a completely disjointed user experience. And then these pieces will fall not only across teams, but also across groups. And the amount of coordination we'll have to do is just going to be massive. So we thought, no, that's not going to fly. We then dived into isolation pattern. So if you read the book Dynamic Reteaming, you know that isolation pattern is when you want to do something innovative, you pull people out of the existing team. So you pull everyone that is just well suited to do that work. You isolate them, you give them everything they need, you remove everything they don't need, and just let them work. And we used that in the past. It proven to be pretty effective. So we thought maybe we could just use that pattern. So maybe we can just take our existing team and then pull people that would work on Winston and have them do that. But when we thought about it, we knew that Winston is so big that we would need to pull at least half of the team. And this would mean the remainder of the team would be very weak. These folks that would be left out would not only not be able to do much productive work, they would probably spend most of their time working on KTLO work. And doing that for 9 months would not be sustainable. So we thought, no, that's also not the best idea. And we thought, hey, maybe we can scale that isolation pattern. Maybe we can do it in a shorter burst. Or maybe we could do it, change it a little bit, and still reuse it. And we were workshopping and thinking about how to do that, and we come up with the following setup. And here goes the 2 most important slides for today. Look, we dreamed a group concept, a new group concept. A group is a building block of this new structure, and group would have group leads, always a product manager, designer, and engineer, a trio leading the group. And then the group would be built around the goal, meaning the goal is something big and impactful, and it's a product goal that is shippable in 6 to 9 months. And this goal usually spans across multiple epics. And we were creating these groups around the goal. As soon as the goal is sufficiently achieved, the group dissolves. So the group lifespan would be 6 to 9 months. Then in order to achieve the goal, usually the group needs a set of components. In our case, a set of microservices. So they would have to own some software. And then finally, people, right? Group needs a people, and usually a lot of people. Because if you want to build an impactful product, you need to cover a lot of components, and that requires a lot of people. So we thought the group will have between 15 to 25 people. And these are, of course, product managers, designers, engineers. And since there's 5-to-1 ratio of engineers to product managers and designers, these folks with white border around them are team leads or engineering managers. Okay? That's the concept of the group. Okay, goal, components, people. And while we have that, we're now going to dive into a concept of a squad. We thought about 3 different types of squads. Group is chopped into squads. And the first type of that squad is delivery squad. Delivery squad is a basically small group of people that work on a single epic. To take on any epic, they do just that one epic. So their epic whip limit is 1. And they work on it until they get it in the hands of the customers. And after that, the squad dissolves. The lifespan of a squad, 6-7 weeks, something like that. And this is the first fundamental type of a squad. And then we also thought about discovery squads. These folks would also work on a single problem, but then their job is to discover or validate these problems. So the outcome of their work would be a PRD document, product requirements document, or a prototype, or a design. And finally, the most important type of the squad is what we call acceleration squad. And these folks get the entire KTLO work of a group. They take on each other, on them, all the bugs, security patches, dependency updates, all the mundane work that needs to happen within the group. Acceleration squad plays defense and is protecting other squads. They're playing defense so that the other squads can play offense. Okay? Look what's happening there. Delivery squads not only are working on a single epic, they have a whip limit of 1, but they also don't have to be distracted with all the KTLO work. So it is in practice an isolation pattern, just happening on a shorter burst within the group. And we thought that, hey, it's not going to be sustainable to work in acceleration squad for a long time. So that's why we need to rebalance or regroup within the group or create new squads every 6-7 weeks. And people from acceleration squad go to delivery squads and vice versa. Otherwise, it would not be sustainable. So how that life cycle would look like? Well, a group might start like this, 2 delivery squads, a discovery squad, and an acceleration squad. And after 6-7 weeks, they might look like this. Hey, maybe there's like, I don't know, more acceleration work needed, and they only have 2 delivery squads. And then after 6-7 weeks, we have maybe less KTLO work, and we bootstrap like 2 additional squads, and we're working with 4 delivery squads right now. So the group leads have an ability to reshape the group internally and adjust to the incoming work, types of epics that are being worked on. They have a freedom to reshape the setup of the group. And we operated like this for last 12 months. And before I summarize like what happened, I wanted to share a little bit about like how we transitioned from that static setup to dynamic. How did that work? Because we reused that same pattern when regrouping later on. So first of all, we started with product goals. We had our big themes, big product goals. An example of a goal might be, in our case, slash the time to first interview by half. Or use AI to fully automate the first screening interview. Or expose recruiter functionalities through chatbot, right? That would be a type of a goal. That's achievable in 6-9 months. We picked 6 of these goals, and we built groups around them. That was the step 1. Then we distribute leads. So we figure out, okay, who wants to drive these goals and who would be responsible for them? And always, as I said, a PM, a designer, an engineer. Once we had that, we look at our software components, microservices, and we thought, okay, groups will need some software components to deliver the goals, so we distribute these components across groups. We were left with around 30% of components that no one needed and no one wanted, because these components were not serving group goals. But we told all these leads, hey, someone needs to take care of these, someone needs to maintain them, so we're gonna have to evenly distribute them across groups. And okay, groups just grabbed them, although they didn't need them, but they needed to maintain it. And finally, we asked people, hey, where do you want to work? And we distribute folks. And most of the team members choose groups where they felt familiar, where there were components that they know. But 20% of the team actually changed managers and changed business area and components, which we're super happy because we were super happy about it, because 20% of the people had a chance to learn new things. But at the same time, it was not a massive, revolution, and people landed in a place where they felt familiar with. So that's how we moved from static to dynamic. Now you may think, oh, okay, but how did that go? What are the results, right? And there are 3 lenses you can take to just reason about, the outcomes. The first one is okay, what a user saw, what did the customer witness after a couple of months in the setup. I started with a Winston prototype. That was the dream, the plan. These screenshots are the actual Winston product that got delivered into the hands of the users. And people were super happy. And because we shipped 4 different AI experiences, a candidate-facing chatbot, recruiting-facing chatbot, screening automation tool, and a solution to automatically match candidates to jobs. And people are very impressed and very happy about it. So this user experience or customer experience was great after 9 months. We can then take a look at KPIs, a quantitative look, right? And I am collecting a lot of these data points, and I'm comparing here 9 months in the old setup and 9 months in the new setup. And we noticed that, first of all, attrition dropped by half, which is great, right? Because we definitely didn't mess up on the people end. People really wanted to experience and be there with us, which was great. KTLO dropped. It is normally a very hard metric to push down, but we slashed it by 12%. Bugs leaked, well, small decrease, but at least we know that new structure didn't mess up the quality, which was great. Epic throughput. We thought we're gonna, have less epics delivered because people worked on, different tech stack, that 20% people changed their groups, but actually we got a nice bump, 9% better throughput. And finally, what I'm most happy about, cycle time and lead time significantly decreased, right? This is 90th percentile of epic cycle time and lead time. You see that these delivery squads that were focused, that were able to just basically focus on one project and didn't have to do the KTLO work, proven to work super effectively. People were really finishing projects. And we stabilized our delivery system, which was great. And then probably the most important lens is how the team felt about it. And we asked about different sentences. We presented these sentences to the team and we asked them to rate them from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And these are the highlights, right? The good stuff. So first of all, we were able to focus on the important stuff. People really felt there's no one's working on a secondary priority work. Everyone's just doing something meaningful. And 69% either agreed or strongly agreed. People felt we accelerated. 60% of the people either agreed or strongly agreed. Acceleration squad was a huge success. People really felt that, creating them helped them focus. 71% of the people felt that, they agree or strongly agree with that statement. And finally, a lot of people get adventurous and reported that they would like to change the group in the next rebalancing phase, which was amazing to hear because we will have more people that are cross-trained. That was the highlights. There were also things that were more evenly distributed. So first of all, working in the acceleration squad, was not entirely super positive experience. Although 25% of the people enjoyed it. Newcomers choose acceleration squads. People that change groups started in acceleration squad. It's a good way to learn the domain. Some people enjoyed it just, by nature. But yeah, a lot of people, couldn't endure it for a long period of time, which was expected. Bootstrapping new squads, something we still need to work on. You pay the penalty of bootstrapping here, right? Because you do a lot of squads often. So you need to automate it. You need to build bootstrap guidelines, guidebooks. You need to have a process, have amazing agile coaches working at SmartRecruiters. They are working with the teams right now to make it as smooth as possible. Still, there's work ahead. And unfortunately, because we rushed to deliver Winston, people gravitated to the domains they know. And in many places of the org, we still had these specialists working on some of the domains, and we still relied many times on the experts for that given domain. Something that maybe, more, smoother times where we're not going to be so much pressure to deliver, with something we would like to improve on. And I wanted to also share 3 caveats that we stumbled upon while doing so. The first one being social connection. A lot of people told us, hey, this is amazing because I get to work with so many new people. But some people said, hey, actually, there is no team spirit anymore because I know my team will dissolve in 6-7 weeks. So in order to combat this, you really need to focus on social connection on the group level. You need to try to build that social connection on that bigger talent pool so that people are not strangers. So when the squads rotate, the people are working with someone that they already know. This is very important. Then engineering management. Well, management changes a lot. We didn't want to change managerial relationships every 6 weeks. That would be unsustainable. This means I can work in a squad and my manager might be leading a different squad. So we're not seeing each other on a day-to-day basis. So then a management becomes more of a coaching. It's more about career progression, skills, learning, and less so about day-to-day job. And also, if you want to manage performance, you need 360 feedback or calibrations to do it well. And finally, balancing groups' capacity. Well, we made a big mistake and created one group that was smaller. And that was a problem because they were too small to create a meaningful acceleration squad. It's really important to have a lot of people 15 plus in these groups so that they can create a meaningful acceleration squads, because otherwise the benefits of that setup are hard to be realized. And I wanted to leave you also with 3 takeaways so you can take it home, think about it. First one being, WIP limiting really works. It really works. It's the probably fastest, most cost-effective way to just stabilize your delivery system. And dynamic reteaming really helps with WIP limiting. You can really set up teams that are focused by just shaping the structure. The second thing is people talk about small and nimble teams, but what we came to realize that large talent pools, large groups are basically way more resilient, they're more independent, and they can deliver more. They can cover more ground, they can drive more impact, and if something unexpected happened around them, they can rebound. They're less likely to be derailed. And we happen to value these larger groups. And finally, you can't really avoid reteaming. The world changes around us so fast that sooner or later you will have to reteam. None of our existing teams will just be there forever. So if this is something we can't avoid, maybe we should just be good at it and build practices, guidebooks, processes for reteaming so that this is a more enjoyable experience to everyone. Thank you so much. That was it.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let's talk. I believe that was provocative and inspiring because the questions are flowing. We have a lot of questions. Thank you so much. Keep them going. Keep them going.
And I'll be around for today. So yeah, if you want to, hang out and have a talk, just, I'm around.
What time is your train? Are you staying with the end of the conference today?
Yes.
Lovely. So we have Michał here at the end until the end of the day, so we can continue the conversation. But for now, I have one concrete one. So it is about how do you handle squads finishing assignment at different times? So do you need to synchronize that everyone will finish in the same time, or you are struggling with it somehow?
Different groups do it differently. We don't impose any hard rules on this. We generally work in 2-week sprints. So it's often happened that, the epics are being completed roughly at a similar time, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like that, right? Maybe, one squad finishes, replace some people in the acceleration squad, and we're bootstrapping another squad, and next sprint another squad finishes. Sometimes group leads decided to wait until everyone wrap up the work and do a big shift. So we don't really enforce that on a group level. We let the group leads decide on this.
And now about the humans. So we have few questions about the trust. How about the trust? Because they are changing the squads. And also about the people getting together. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, it's a money thing, right? Ideally, you would have a group offsite where you're going to grab these 20, 25 people in one physical space and spend some time together, right? So then later on when they bootstrap, these are not strangers. It's often hard to do. We're fully remote company. We don't have offices in all of the locations. So we try to do it at least once a year to get everyone together, twice a year. So that's an important thing. And you need to just have some conscious effort to get the groups together, right? Even on Zoom, right? Just so people see each other. And then that squad bootstrapping penalty isn't that hard or that harsh, right? Because people know each other just a little bit and can start together. That gelling process is faster. But you're always going to pay some price. It'll always cause some delay, but it's basically improved later on by the improved focus.
Also on this one, how about psychological safety? Did you notice any change in that when people are still in motion over and over?
Not really. I think if you keep the level of transparency and trust on a leadership level, when I talk with a team or group leads do that, I think we maintain it. And we measure engagement, which is the overall satisfaction of being in the business, and went up over the nine months. So we definitely didn't decrease. If anything, we improved. So yeah, I think we didn't have any problems with that.
Politics. So I like this one. How would you introduce this concept, this model to tech director? Do you find it feasible for complex architecture?
Yeah, so this is a two-part question, right? The first one is, I think it's easy to convince people to it because in this setup, no one works on secondary priority job. So if there's someone owning the budget and say, hey, you want to direct your money to the most important stuff, this is the way. Pick 6 super impactful goals and fuel them with people. And you have a structure when everyone is working on something that's, high priority and important. No one's just doing work because they always did that, which is often the case in companies, right? So I think convincing people how to effectively channel people and therefore budget, I think this is a clear case. For complex things, yeah, one of our components is application tracking system. It's the complex subsystem that we have. Yeah, and probably we have 2 or 3 people that follow that component whenever they go. But thanks to acceleration squad rotation, we had more people that are trying to learn about it. And at least they have a shot, they have a chance of learning that complex subsystem. But yeah, the problem doesn't go away, but I think at least this structure gives you a shot and more people being exposed to it because there's an enforced designed-in rotation.
The KPIs you showed, they are after 12 months. So how long did it take to stabilize the result after some initial turmoil?
So KPIs are 9 months versus 9 months. And KPIs basically are spanning across both the initial period when we started, so the first quarter we just did it. So that initial turmoil is baked into the KPIs. The KPI times cover that time. And yes, first quarter, for instance, we created one very large group with a lot of complex components. And I'm going to be honest, half of that crew was in the acceleration squad. And they really had to take 2-3 weeks to found themselves in the new reality. But eventually they did. And actually, we found like one of the managers really loved working on acceleration squad. There was like a lot of like great improvements he did in that team, and they have a large acceleration squad that not only like grab that KTLO work, but they were also managed to do some improvements. For instance, like lower the entry bar to that domain. So one thing we also told acceleration squads, hey, if you have any free cycles, try to make that domain easier to consume for others, so that rotation have a less impact. And the one important task of our acceleration squad, apart from taking KTLO work, is to basically decrease the cognitive load needed to get into the domain. So yeah.
Half the time. Can we continue? Half the Q&A time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, yes. Let's have a conversation.
Questions are flowing.
Awesome.
So you will like this one. What if there is something that needs to be done, but no one wants to work on it? Did you enforce assignments at some point?
Yeah, I mean, goal setting is hard, right? Not all goals are super exciting. And that's a fact. There are we had 3 groups working on Winston, and the other 3 groups working on other things. But getting to a clear goal helps, just generally. And knowing that there is a goal helps. And after people self-assigned to the groups, we ended up with not a perfect balance. And then we talk with people, hey, actually, this group is too weak. They will not be able to deliver. We need to move some people around. And yeah, we asked people to move, but then they knew that this will last for 6 to 9 months. So at least there is a built-in perspective that, hey, I will be able to work on a different goal soon. So yeah, I'm not saying we were positively surprised how well the first approach to balancing was. People generally worked on this almost nicely, perfectly distribute themselves, but we had to do some adjustments. And yeah, we asked people to do that, and they responded super positively. They were very receptive to this. Partially because they know, hey, they will be able to work on something new 6 to 9 months later.
Architecture. So what if you need to manage the components of the job within one big chunk, one big component of the architecture, but this job requires 1, 2, 3 groups, more than one?
Yeah. So we're obviously a microservice system, very distributed. We have 300 services working together. So we don't have that issue. But for a large monolithic, code base, I would just try to sketch a few things. Hey, maybe we could create one super large group and to maintain it. And okay, how many people would be needed there? That could be the one thing. Are there any cuts that we can make to that big domain, and can we set up maybe 2 groups that would not be stepping on each other's toes, right? Important thing here is just to set up groups to limit the dependencies between them, right? And build coherent experiences, right? So we created a chat group, and they work on all the recruiter-facing chatbot functionalities because we wanted the user experience to be consistent. So if you have these large complex subsystem that needs to be deployed, hey, maybe you can create one big group. And if you feel it's too big, well, then is there a cut that you can do there? I mean, there's no perfect way. The perfect way would be to plan the modularization work, just to maybe split it into more independent components and have ability to independently deploy and improve the software. And maybe that would be the goal for the group. The goal doesn't have to be a customer facing. It could be a group can have a goal. Hey, let's make that monolith more modular thing. And that was a perfect goal too. Maybe 6 to 9 months is just enough to deliver this. And you got focus only on this.
A question about inspiration. Were you inspired by Spotify model?
Well, we are aware of Spotify model. We're also aware that Spotify is not necessarily using Spotify model. No, I think we were more inspired by dynamic reteaming book, Heidi Halfand. We were more inspired by Kanban coaches and, the flow management, because we wanted to put this in practice. These are like the bodies of knowledge we use, not necessarily Spotify model. Yeah.
And the question is, will you share the slides, including these references you've mentioned? People would like to. Can you send the slides over? After?
Oh, of course, yeah. I thought slides will be shared, right? Yeah, they will be. Awesome, yeah.
Fantastic. So we have few provocative ones. So maybe I will ask the last one, the most provocative, if you...
Yeah, bring it on.
Are you up for this challenge?
Always.
So, I quote, "Do you mean that the concept of long-living small teams like Scrum teams is fundamentally wrong?"
It's just tough. We were in that world for like 10 years. We built small cross-functional teams that own a part of the product and had a mission. And we really obsessed about it. We brought these people to customer meetings. We wanted to connect them with, the software and the users. And I think we were good at it. These people really loved their part of the product. They loved working with it. They were nimble, small, cross-functional Scrum teams. But then the changes were happening. We were pivoting. The new legislation came. We wanted to go up market. We needed to cut some domains. We needed to do the change. And this is where this was becoming painful, because we didn't have the reteaming concept. No one in the team openly talked about the need for reteaming. Whenever we told the team, hey, look, you love that domain, you have a ton of ideas, but this product is dying. No one cares about it. And we cannot afford to spend more time on it. You got to move to something that, will bring revenue. And that was harder than it should be. Right? Even if there was a great idea, even if we had an amazing product idea with great tech and great potential, people were still reluctant to leave that old domain and move somewhere else. And we felt that this is not right. This is, I don't know, we should improve it, right? And that's why one of the reasons we get into the dynamic reteaming. So I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying ultimately we need to figure out what's happening with the world around us and where do we want to take the product and company. And I think we need to be open with our employees that, hey, the teams that we have right now will not be there forever. So that's my take on this.
Thank you.